Y'all know what this is. Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's time to talk about it. Let's go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Klepcx FM, brought to you by WeAreCritiX.com, a place where we talk about movies, television, and pop culture. And if you're into that kind of thing, make sure you hit that subscribe key and that notification bell so you can be up to speed about everything I talk about here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time to talk about the latest installment to the Hunger Games. That's right, the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That's right, this is a prequel to the original story. And before we talk about what did I think, in good fashion, let me explain a little bit about what this story is. So, this story takes place about 64 years before the original story, The Hunger Games. Now, there are 3 original books, and then this book came out 2020, I believe it was, a prequel to the original story, which kind of tells the story about how the games began. And not only does it talk about how the games began, you get a little bit more in-depth story about the mentors versus what we got in the other films that was focused primarily more on the tributes. You also get a little bit of backstory, well, not so much backstory, but a little bit more in-depth workings of the peacemakers, who were primarily the guards and the people that were kind of moving the tributes around. This is directed by the gentleman Francis Lawrence, who directed Catching Fire and Mockingjay 1 and Mockingjay Part 2. Yes, he is back, and it stars Rachel Zegler, Viola Davis, Peter Dinklage, and Tom Blythe. Gentleman that I don't recall seeing anywhere else, but he is in this. Who else is in this? Jason Schwartzman is in this as well. Great character, by the way. Very reminiscent. Well, we'll get into what his character really is. But what I think about this movie, first of all, I gotta say, shout out to Lionsgate because they are overachievers. And let me tell you about my experience seeing this movie overall. It was an early screening, of course. Press were invited. Some fans were invited. So it was pretty much like a press fan event in 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 conjunction with the actual red carpet that was going on in LA, I think, at the time, last night. So there was a live feed that was supposed to be shown to us of the red carpet with all the stars getting interviewed on the red carpet and all that stuff because, the Hollywood strike is over. So now they are going full force with this. Now, let me talk about this experience because although they meant well, I was not on board with this. For example, for me, it's more or less work. I'm not really a big fan of this, so this was more of a fan event. So going into this, I'm thinking, okay, normally these things start about like 7:30 ish p.m. and then you see the movie, and you're out of there by like 9:30, 10 o'clock the latest. But this thing, they got us in about 7:30, 7:45. Okay, so we're already behind schedule. Then they did some cool things. They gave out some gifts. I got like a not a Mockingjay, but a Ballad of Songbirds and a snake cookie with the logo on it. I didn't want to eat the cookie, but I still have it. And I got a poster. Then they had like a photo booth with the backdrop, the step and repeat, promoting the movie. That's cool. They want to promote this thing. That's what we're all about right now. We're going full force with the marketing because we need to get back on track, Hollywood, right? Yeah. So then we're sitting here watching this, waiting to watch the movie. There's commercials running. They must have showed 3 or 4 trailers to this movie before going into the actual movie. So if you never wanted to watch the trailer, wanted to see any clips, any spoilers, anything, forget it now. You're trapped in this theater. You have no choice but to watch 3 to 4 trailers for a movie you're about to watch. Aside of that, they were promoting a new song that's on the soundtrack, performed by Olivia Rodrigo. And she was on the red carpet. Then they showed the red carpet premiere, and this was like, no lie, this was like 35, maybe 40 minutes long of the red carpet. While we're sitting in the theater watching these stars talk about the movie on the red carpet. And then Olivia Rodrigo comes out, and then she's talking about her collaboration and her contribution to the film with the song. And then they gave us a world premiere of the music video. I'm not lying. This was probably like an hour before we that had passed before we actually got to watch a 2.5 hour movie already. 8:30 comes. That's when all the red carpet stuff like started. So the movie didn't actually start till maybe a little bit after 9. The movie starts finally. All right, let's talk about what did I think about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. All right, I thought at first that this was going to be the kind of movie because I'm not a fan. I'm familiar. I've seen the others. I've seen all 3 of the other movies, um, but I'm not like a diehard fan. But I appreciate the storylines and the actors that are in it, and it had me. This movie is good. It's good. It has some really great origin pieces about things that you probably wanted to know. My favorite aspect of this movie was the mentor storyline. I don't want to give you too much, but the mentor storyline versus the tribute storyline, getting to see just how this whole they don't get real deep, but they get deep enough where you can still follow along and understand what's going on. Because, like I said, I'm not a fan. I'm more of a casual, but I was really in depth with the story. Like I was really enjoying uh, the stakes and dynamics with some of the characters, specifically played by Blythe, who plays I can't remember his first name, but his last name, of course, is Snow. And of course, any of you real fans, you know that there's a Snow in the previous stories played by Donald Sutherland. Now, this is 64 years prior, so we don't know if these are descendants or if they are those actual. Because I don't remember what Snow's first name was, or if they even ever dropped it in any of the later earlier films. Later, as in continuity wise, but earlier, as in chronologically, chronologically when the movie came out. So I thought that was cool. Jason Schwartzman's character is supposed to be a descendant of Stanley Tucci's character. What was their name? Flickerman. Flickerman was the last name. So it's Lucky Flickerman, played by Schwartzman. And then I don't remember Stanley Tucci's, but I know his last name was Flickerman. So I enjoyed the fact that there was some connection there, and I'm a continuity junkie. I love that there's connection with the other stories. So this is a book, so I'm pretty sure the author, she knew what she was doing when she was making this book after the original. So it ties in very nicely. There's some great story building in this thing around the Hunger Games, like rules and things that change. We get a little bit of that. It was just really immersive and really cool, and I really enjoyed that part of the film. Now, I want to talk about the stuff that I loved in this movie. All right, Peter Dinklage, man, put that guy in any role. I'm still excited to see him in that other thing. Y'all already know. I don't want to name drop another film. I'm talking about another film, but there's something coming that he's in that I'm already excited to see. But that man. Like he's effortless. Like he doesn't even have you give him a line and he does that line and I believe it. I'm like hanging on every word. Like yeah. Like Peter Dinklage is a boss on screen. But let's talk about Viola Davis, who's doing something so different than she's ever done. We've seen her do Amanda Waller. Yeah, it's kind of villainish. Kind of villainish. This is villainy you have never seen Viola do. Yo, that woman steals every scene she is in this movie. She is a queen. She murders this movie. Her character, she plays Doctor. I can't remember the name. She's a doctor, very maniacal, like crazy doctor, like a mad scientist almost like, but very elegant at the same time, but very scary at the same time. And she means business, kind of like a evil doctor, witch doctor, kind of futuristic. Like it's weird. It's bonkers. She's got like 2 different color eyes, wild hair, and man, listen. Every time she's on the screen, I'm like, yo, this lady's bodying it. Like she's like my favorite thing in this entire movie. Not saying that everyone else doesn't do their thing because there's some really great acting in this, but she really is the standout character in this film for me. Not Olivia, Rachel Zegler, who's in this film, who a lot of you guys know was about to play that new Disney princess. Again, won't name drop. She's about to play a Disney princess in a remake, reboot, live action thing. I'm not gonna lie. From the bad press that she gets outside of work, I honestly would have never got that vibe from her watching her. And she's a great actress. She's not the best actor in this movie, but she definitely made me forget about all the bullshit drama outside the movie world. One thing, and we're gonna start getting into the things that I did not like about this movie because I'm giving it high praises. The length, hit or miss. It was fine, and there are some great things about the Hunger Games in this movie. But then there's a point in time in this movie where it just turns into something else. You get a lot of the Hunger Games stuff, and then you get a lot of Rachel Zegler singing, which was a little much, a little much. But it all ties into the overall title and things of that nature and the story. Um, so here's the things that I didn't like about this movie. I feel like they were trying to cram a lot of stuff into this movie. You get the meat of the story, which is the stuff that people really wanted to see, which is the Hunger Games, the origin. We wanted to see a game. We wanted to see the backstabbing, the twist, the things of all that nature. You get a lot of that, but then there's an underlying story that they want to also tell. That's character building for, say, like Snow and some of the characters that you may already know, or even like the overall games itself. But to get there, they take this really off road, like it goes left. And then at one point you start, there's a love story attached to this that kind of feels forced in the story. It's the kind of thing that, like, when they say that the book is better than the movie, I really feel as though that the book may be extremely better than the movie. Like, and I've never read the books, and I've always been able to take a movie for what it was, regardless if there was a really popular novel that came out prior to it. But this one, I'm watching it and I'm thinking, like, I bet the book is way better than this movie because it has a lot of great elements on that off story that they're trying to tell. But watching it feels out of place. It's like, yo, this just kind of just came out of nowhere. Like, what movie are we watching right now? Because it totally feels different from what we started watching. And this is well in. This is probably like an hour after. So you get a good chunk of what you came to see. But then there's a narrative that happens that you don't feel like is necessary until it is. I'll give you that. I'm not going to say that it didn't tie up well and that the movie falls short, because it didn't really fall short. I was really engaged and I kind of enjoyed it as a casual, you know what I mean? But there were moments that were happening in this movie where I was just like, where is this going? And then one character does a complete 180 that you don't expect coming. And that's the part that left a sour taste in my mouth. I'm like, all right, whatever. Let's just get. At that point, you're just like, all right, let's just get to the credits, because you're like, the movie's coming to an end. You know it's about to end. So you're at that moment, like they knew when to put that in, because they put that in a moment where you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna take anything right now just to get out of here. And so for me, the movie is probably like a B minus. I would say a B minus in that sense. But overall, I didn't hate this movie, and I think a lot of Hunger Games fans will probably enjoy the meat half, like the first half of this thing, like all the Hunger Games stuff and all of that, and they will probably tune out around that moment where I tell you the story shifts into something else. But then by the end of it, they'll probably be like, "Oh, well, that was interesting. But there were a lot of mixed things in the theater. Some people were in it, but I feel like they dragged out the whole event. Like, if they would have just given us the movie, we got in, sat down, got the movie, I think perspective wise, people would have digested it a little bit better. I'm not saying a lot of people hate it, because nobody was talking like they hated it, but nobody walked out of there with like standing ovation vibes or anything like that. It was just like, whew, that was a thing. So yeah, that's just my overall consensus about how that movie made me feel. I didn't hate it. I liked it. I would I see it again? Probably not. I'm not a fan of this franchise though, but I think that a lot of fans digested a good chunk of it, and enough to be like there was good moments. Like there's enough good stuff in there to where you're not gonna want to just trash this movie. But there are some moments in there where you're just gonna be like, I'm just gonna rewind or skip. Yeah, I'm gonna rewind and go back to the stuff I like. Or I'm just gonna skip to the part that because a lot of that for me. That's just me. I'm not saying people may absolutely love this movie. It may, especially if they read the book. Anyone that reads the books of this stuff and they know what's going on, they know what to expect. They'll probably have a different or better perspective about what this movie means and what it is to them. But for me, yeah, I'm just a casual who went to go see a 2.5 hour movie, and they pulled me in for a good chunk of it, pushed me out, and then reeled me back in. So that's Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, ladies and gentlemen. You let me know. Are you excited to see this? Was it even on your radar? Because some people, they don't even know. They're just getting back into marketing mode, and some people probably don't even know that this movie's coming. Let me know. Like, comment, share. Make sure you subscribe. And for more movie news, television news, and pop culture, check out wearecritics.com. And I will talk to you all later. Peace.